Hey, welcome into Boston has entered the chat. If you love this show, first of all, thank you. Secondly, check out Hold My Banner on NESN as well. Ante Campbell and I break down everything Celtics. Hold My Banner can be found on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever else podcasts are found. All right, here we go. Boston has entered the chat time. Travis Thomas here with George Balecki. GB, how you doing, my friend?
Doing great, because we got the best episode of the week right here.
We do.
And we're starting off the week nice. We got my guy, John Fanta.
We got his guy. John Fanta talks March Madness with us, of course. Plus, the NFL Combine's over, so we'll tell you who improved their draft stock with the Patriots, and will it be rivalry renewed in the NBA Finals? Lakers, Celtics, question mark. We have answers. But first, it is March, so we must get to March Madness talk with our resident hoops expert, John Fanta. Take a look.
He's John Fanta. If you know anything about college basketball, you know who he is. He's the face of covering the sport. You could catch him any arena, any network calling games. John, thanks for taking the time. How we doing, my man?
George, fellas, great to be with you guys. Thanks so much for having me. The madness is alive and well, and I can't wait. I know you guys are buckled up, too. It's already well underway in earnest. We are in for a heck of a few upcoming weeks of madness, buzzer beaters. Cinderella's carriage is revving up. Put the gas in the tank, and let's ride, baby.
That's it. This is your time of year. I mean, I know Saturday night you're calling a game down in D.C. with Marquette. Sunday you're calling UConn and Paige Becker, so we're going to get into it all. I want to start with last year's tournament was, can UConn defend it? Can UConn repeat? Can anyone stop them? What does this tournament on the men's side feel like for you?
Well, it feels like Auburn/Duke or the field, but within that, Auburn, their greatness, they have just 2 losses on the season, one of which was to Duke, one of which was to Florida, who showed, hey, Auburn can be picked off. Not many have been able to show it, but I thought Florida showed why they could be a Final Four team. Yeah, they're back on the map. How about the Houston Cougars and what they bring to the table? I think it's going to be more – we're going to see a little bit of randomness in this tournament. Mm-hmm. I think we could have the 2 heavyweights, the Tigers and Duke, and therein lies the other thing. Cooper Flagg is the face of the NCAA tournament. He is the biggest star. He is the most generational player that we've had in several years. He is the face on the hardwood as a player, which means who is the coaching face of March Madness? That would be one Rick Pitino, and what he's been able to do at St. John's to get them back near the top of the country, ranked 6th in the country. It is their highest ranking since 1991. So there's a load of storylines in the country. But to have an elite college freshman, among other freshmen, the number 1 pick in the draft in the NCAA tournament, it'll be hyped to a level we haven't seen since Zion Williamson back in 2019. And I'm really intrigued to see, can John Shire capture the title? Will Bruce Pearl and Auburn? Bruce Pearl's made Auburn a basketball school. Will they be able to get it done? And then what else do we see around the country? And which team could be wearing Cinderella's slipper? I will go on record and say there will at least be one Final Four team. I think Auburn and Duke will be there, just what my gut says. There will be a Final Four team that you do not expect coming into March Madness that ends up there.
Okay, those are the 1 seeds. Duke, Auburn, Alabama, Houston. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of trust there for Roll Tide from you. I'm not picking up much from Houston either. You said Duke and Auburn you do believe in. What sort of separates you talked about Duke and Cooper Flagg, of course. We could ask 1,000 follow-ups on that, and we will. We know you like Pearl with Auburn. When you talk about Bama and you talk about Houston, even though maybe you don't have the trust that they'll get there in the end, what sort of separates all these 1 seeds, particularly if you could, Alabama and Houston, since you already talked about the other 2?
Yeah, well, let's talk about Houston first.
Okay.
What this team is doing is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, they have gone 30-2 over their last 32 Big 12 regular season games. Woo. This is the Big 12. They're making it look like the American Athletic Conference or another league that's outside of the Power 4 or 5, and they've been dominating it with their only losses to a Texas Tech team who's in the top 10, and the other one, this dates back to last season, at Allen Fieldhouse against Kansas. They won at Allen Fieldhouse this year. They win everywhere they go. I believe in Houston, and it's a level that's just slightly down from Auburn and Duke, but why do I believe in them? because I think this is Kelvin Sampson's best shot-making team in terms of the weapons that he has. He's had Marcus Sasser. He's had Jamal Shed. This year, it's L.J. Cryer, who's been fantastic. It's Emmanuel Sharp. It's Milos Uzan, who's led them in scoring 2 out of the last 5 games. It's Jawan Roberts in the post. It's the defensive JoJo Tugler. They are a tough, hard-nosed team, but they can win with finesse if need be. In March, you must be able to win on a day where the other team is performing very well offensively. You got to be able to knock down shots, too. You got to be able to say, behind me, there's a couple of bottles of alcohol here. You got to be able to say, maybe I'm in the mood for a Prosecco. No, I could win with champagne tonight.
Yeah.
No, I need a bottle of wine maybe tonight. You got to be versatile. And I think that's what Houston is this year more so than other teams. As for Alabama, look, I think Alabama's very dynamic offensively. I really do. And I also think, though, that if I were the committee, I would strongly consider Florida or Tennessee for the final 1 seed over Alabama.
Wow.
Alabama lost at the buzzer to Tennessee over the weekend. They do own several quality wins, but that team defensively, I don't trust them enough on that end of the floor. And at times, their style backfires on them, where they're so fast-paced and offensively gifted, and I get it. They really are, and they can make a Final Four. I don't want to say that they can't, because I could eat my words on this show in 4.5 weeks and say, guys, I was wrong. No, I do believe they can make the Final Four, but this is about trusting to win it all. I think sometimes their style backfires on them, and if you limit their threes, if you defensively say, we're going to do all we can to contain them beyond the arc, we're going to also make them work defensively. You got to make them guard you. You can't fall into their up and down, open floor pace. Let's just get shots up, lift the possessions. No, you've got to be gritty. Auburn did that. Tennessee did that. You got to lock them down defensively as much as you can, and you can't let Mark Sears get comfortable. Because if you cut off Mark Sears, in a way, Alabama, they don't look like the same team. So I don't want to say that I'm out on them. I just am not in on them to the degree that I'm in on other teams.
Okay. That's fair. Listen, by the way, how many of those bottles you reference behind you? Are we talking empty bottles here, John? Are you fully stocked? Like, what's going on back there?
I am not somebody who's popping these open every single day. My party beverages are college basketball and solely college basketball.
All right.
But I just saw them, and I've never really used them as a prop. And I figured with NESN that this was meant to be. During the madness, you got to be able to watch games in different ways. You got to be able to be versatile. You got to say to the wife, hey, honey, the chores can wait.
Yep.
Right now, Drake is threatening to pull off an upset or Lipscomb or name that school that she's never heard of. She's going to give you the confused look. You got to roll with the punches, man. This is March. Like, this is the best month of the year. So, no, to answer your question, I am not Bill Raftery level of beverage drinker, but I do like to have a good time, as George Belleci, my college classmate, but off by a year, but as he can attest.
I'll never forget celebrating Seton Hall winning the Big East tournament over Villanova. The celebrations were had. JF, of course, you're putting out an All-American type performance. I like that you touched on why Houston has the guys that checks your box. I love that you bring up Tennessee's defense and toughness.
Yep.
And they have the guards that can match up with an Alabama. You're throwing around these names. You're throwing around these characteristics. When you're just looking at your tournament, what are the boxes you need checked in a way of, cool, they have a 1 seed. Sure, they're a 4. But look, what are the boxes you need checked, John, that you go, this is the team I'm going to ride with?
Do they have 3 or 4 guys who can get into double figures? Because if they're over-relying on 1 or 2, I have some trust issues at times with the team, right? I don't point to the three-point line all the time. I don't. I think it's important with like an Alabama that you limit their threes, because if you don't, you will lose. You will lose. But like, there are some teams, Tennessee and St. John's being 2 of them, who I have a high degree of trust with, but they're not perimeter shooting teams. So then what do I check off? All right? How do they rebound the basketball? You got to be able to rebound, because if you can get extra opportunities, it could be the difference in you winning or losing the game, right? Where do you score defensive efficiency-wise? I would prefer you be in the top 60. There have been a couple of Final Four teams the last couple of years, Miami now a couple of years ago, Alabama last year, who have hovered around the top 100, top 110. When I'm looking at a team, I need them to be good enough defensively to hang in, to not get lost and just give up both rebounds and buckets. And then I think I got to look at a team and say, are you too reliant on one or two players? Or do you truly have 3 or 4 options? Notice I didn't say 6 or 7. I don't believe it. At the end of the day, Jay Wright won a national championship in 2018 with 6 guys.
Yep.
Right? Connecticut last year, they had a bench. But if you look at their starting 5, those guys rarely came off the floor because they were so special.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have NBA players to win it. You'd like to have 1 or 2. But to me, when I look at a roster, I got to see 3 or 4 guys that can be able to score it for you. Because what you don't want is dead weight offensively.
Right.
If I can scout, and the 3 of us are looking at a team, and we say, you know what, you could play off him. You know, if he's the one that's beating us, it just wasn't our day. You don't want to have that on your team. You want to have 4 or 5 guys that at any time can get you a bucket. And when you look at the top of the country, the teams that we listed, that's why Duke's so dangerous. It's not just Cooper Flag. Texas Tech is a real dark horse. Why? J.T. Toppin is fantastic. Elijah Hawkins, Chance McMillan, when fully healthy, they're cooking. Iowa State, better than last year when they were in Boston. Why? They're better offensively than they were last year. Last year, if you held down their top scorer or 2 and you said make somebody else beat you, they didn't have that. This year, they've got Curtis Jones, Keyshawn Gilbert, Milan Momcilovic. They went out and got Josh Jefferson from St. Mary's. You have to have multiple threats on the offensive end of the floor. I'm not saying you have to be top 5 in efficiency, top 10 in efficiency. I'm not that demanding. But if you look at it, when there's a dark horse, like Ole Miss could still be a dark horse because they have offensive balance. Mm-hmm. Wisconsin. You know why Wisconsin's been damn good? Because they got 4 or 5 guys they can go out and get double figures.
Finally.
Yep.
Yep. It finally is right.
For Greg Gard. You list all that out. What about Maryland? Can defend. Mm-hmm. What do they have? Gillespie, Rice, Miguel, who can all shoot, but also Kevin Willard, who you and I know very well. That's a guy that makes adjustments. He comes prepared. They're actually making shots from the free throw line. They can defend. They've shot creators and guys that get hit from 3. What do you think of Maryland?
I think Maryland's back, and I think that they could be a second weekend team, if not further. And honestly, I think they should expect to make the Sweet 16. That should now be a normal expectation for this team. Whether you have to raise the bar. And Maryland is a big brand in college basketball. It's been a while since we talked about this team. But Kevin Willard went to Maryland because he felt like he could potentially contend for a national title at Maryland more than he could at his previous stop at Seton Hall, our alma mater. But at the same time, look, he went to a brand in college basketball, just like you see Louisville back there. For Maryland, what are the standards? Well, the standards are being met by a team that's very balanced. Mm-hmm. You just said it. Jacoby Gillespie is a lead guard. He transferred him from Belmont, but he was ready to level up. Derek Queen, stud, man. That kid is an NBA player. I think he's a top 10 prospect in the NBA draft. They have that NBA player. Julian Reese is there. He's just a stout, big man who's tough and hard-nosed and gets after it and gets after you defensively. They guard. When you look at the metrics, and I'm into it, they're top 30 in offense, but they're top 15 in defense. They really lock you down defensively. They make you uncomfortable when you're running your stuff. They can turn you over, and if they turn you over and are making threes, you could lose by 15 or 20 points. They're a tough team. They are not the deepest team, but I already told you guys, when you say I've got tons of depth, here's my thing. Do you have 5 guys who can go out and compete with the other 5 steadily?
Right.
They present that challenge. And when Rodney Rice and Selden Miguel are in rhythm from downtown, that offense is as tough to defend as any because they have an equal amount of perimeter threats as they do to front court players.
Well, John, listen, you're speaking my language with the Terps because that's the area of the country I grew up in. I'm from the ACC country when it was Duke against Maryland, not all this Big Ten nonsense. I know you and George are Big East guys, but I was an ACC kid, and because of that, I'm going to ask you about Duke because my hatred for them runs deep. But I got to admit, I mean, this team is legit. Obviously, I'm going to ask you about the team, and then the second part of my question is about their leader, Cooper Flagg, because the team is very impressive to me, but I wonder how good is Cooper Flagg? I mean, are we talking all-time greatness here in college basketball? Like, talk to me about how great of a player he is, and then tell me if this Duke team is for real.
We should be talking about Cooper Flagg all day, every day.
Wow.
Because he doesn't have the persona of the, love to hate Duke villain, and because his name, doesn't have the ring necessarily of a Zion or a LeBron. I think that as a result, maybe the PR machine hasn't taken off. And it also gets coupled with the fact that in November, when we're all buzzing with college hoops, at first they lost to Kentucky and they lost to Kansas in late game situations in which Flagg, if you remember, fell late in those games and had some turnovers. Can you see? Now he's with New Balance. Mm-hmm. He's not with Nike. But can you see the start of the ad? I think of a Nike ad when I think of this, but for the sake of argument, I'll say New Balance or whatever ad. Okay. Can you see the ad, gentlemen, of him in November coming off the floor dejected and having the fall to the rise of climbing a ladder and cutting down the nets?
Mm-hmm.
And saying, doubt it then, here now.
He's a marketing man. John, multifaceted, the man of many expertise. Just love that.
I can see that. I just hate that it's in a Duke uni, but I can see it. Go ahead, George.
So, John, why a young coach and a freshman? Why do you buy into them? And I get it. Like you said, metrics. They're top 5 offense and defense. Why? Why can they do it? Why can Flagg? Why can Shire do it?
Because of how they constructed the roster. So they went out and they said, we're going to get Sion James, who's this bulldog guard. He's a tough you-know-what. He just gets up in you, and he plays hard-nosed basketball. They went out and got Mason Gillis. Does he average 10 points a game? No. But he played at Purdue. He's been in a national title game. His voice matters in that locker room. Tyrese Proctor, when healthy, veteran guard, playmaker, shot maker. They know who the point guard is. Mm-hmm. You got to know who your lead guard is. These teams where it's 2 or 3 guys, you got to get everybody organized. Con Knipple, shot maker, flamethrower, ultra competitor, Common Malawak, tough rim protector who plays like a vet. This freshman class coming in, we knew that they were going to be tough, man. We knew that they were going to be, that this group was going to be talented. Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are very talented. It just didn't work out. You know why? Rutgers didn't build their roster right around those guys. Shire built this roster really, really well. He has the money to do it.
Yeah.
He had the money to say, I'm going to give you this. I want to, Mason Gillis, you're not going to be the main guy. Are you okay? Do you want to win a title? Mason Gillis said, yeah, I do. Sion James said, yeah, I do. And those guys serve as calming presences in the midst of the presence of Flagg. They're tough, man. They guard at a really high level. I thought that they were so disruptive to Illinois. Illinois, who rolled over the weekend. They made, honestly, one of the surprising statements of the weekend by going to Michigan and beating them by 20. But Michigan's not disruptive the way that Duke is. Duke gets up in you. They want to turn you over. And if they do turn you over and they get out in transition, if they make any threes, if they lose a game in the tournament, I predict right now it will be because they made only 4, 5, or 6 threes. If this team is making at least 8 threes and they defend the way they've been defending, there's no way that they're going to lose a game in the NCAA tournament. But that's why we play the games, right?
Yeah.
Basketball, funny game. They can lose. And you're right, George. I think my answer would be, though, Shire has matured in this job. He's in year 3 now.
Yeah.
Cooper Flagg's one of the most mature kids I've ever covered, ever. He doesn't let any of the noise get to him. He's all about the team and winning. The guy doesn't go home for holiday breaks. He stays with the guys that are from other countries and celebrates with them. This guy's different, man. Doesn't do a lot of media. You can't get him for one-on-ones. But you know what? That's part of him. He doesn't want all the attention. He wants to frickin' win. And I do think that there's something to be said. This is big picture in sports, right? Similar to how UConn moved the needle nationally. I'm always looking at a guy like, what moves the needle nationally? You know what moves the needle? If John Shire wins a national championship, you know what's going to be brought up. He's in year 3. He could be the Duke coach for the next 30-some-odd years. All right, he's got one. How many could he get? How good could he be?
Right.
Is he the next Mike Krzyzewski? They have all the money. They
Yep.
have all the recruiting. Coach K had a great career, but the last couple of years of it, I think you guys would admit, like, it was done. You know, it was time. Shire just has this refreshing vibe, and I think he's the man for the job.
John, I'm not saying this is a winning strategy, but you know as well as I do that a lot of people fill out their brackets based on conferences. Now, we have to wait and see what the matchups are, but from where I'm sitting, I'm looking at the standings right now. I mean, between Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, who you mentioned, Bama. I know you don't trust them, but they're up there, Tennessee, Ole Miss. I mean, the SEC, from where I'm sitting, feels like the best conference in America. What would you say is the best?
Yeah, every Crimson Tide fan's going to say you don't trust them. I like them a lot. You can't. If I like everybody the same, then I'm not really doing my job. So I still think Alabama's a good team. I just don't know if they're a national championship team. And again, probably eat my words on this, but I don't trust them all the way on the defensive end of the floor in their style. The SEC is the best conference in the sport, and it's the best conference we've ever seen. Collectively, they could send 13 teams to the NCAA tournament. The most we've ever seen is 11 with the Big East in 2011. This conference is absurd.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely absurd. It's otherworldly. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. It is just crazy how good it is. And there's so many teams, guys, that could cut down the nets from this league. Auburn can do it.
Yeah.
Tennessee can do it. Alabama can do it. I still think Kentucky's dangerous in this league. Mississippi State, I think, is a tough team in this conference. It is a wagon of a league, and I can't take my eyes off it. Oh, by the way, Florida can win it all. Walter Clayton, Elijah Martin, they're tough. They're an offensive juggernaut, and they're top 10 in KenPom offense and defense. That is legit. They're legit. They're tough. Alex Condon, Thomas Hobb, they have size, they have strength, they score, they're really good. Missouri, underrated, dark horse, total team that I think is absolutely loaded. The SEC is an absolute juggernaut. It is the best league in the country by a wide margin, and it's the best league we've seen in the modern era.
Wow. I love that. I love that. It's shifting from an SEC that's jam-packed with power, and this doesn't come randomly for me, and I'll explain it after you answer. But seriously, how deep of a run do you think Drake and Ben McCollum can make?
Drake?
Yeah, Drake. They can make a deep run because Bennett Sturts is an absolute stud. He's averaging 19 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds a game, 2 steals a game. He shoots 50% from the floor. Daniel Abreu, Mitch Muscari. When Mitch Muscari's knocking down threes, they're really dangerous. Ben McCollum was a D2 coach. He takes the Drake job. He says, I'm going to take my D2 core guys with me. They have nailed it in the Missouri Valley, showing there's a ton of great talent at the Division II level.
Yep.
A ton. Don't sleep on D2 guys that know how to shoot, pass, and dribble. Sometimes the game is simple. Coaches and people make it too hard at times. Ben McCollum's like, I'm relying on my guys that got me here. His team's been special. They are dynamic in their approach. They are extremely difficult to guard because they move without the ball. They have great ball security. They don't turn it over. They rebound. They can make threes. Drake can be in the Sweet 16. They are that kind of team. And I think they'll get an 11 or a 12 seed, provided they win the Missouri Valley tournament. They belong. And there should be consideration for them to get in that large. Just like there should be consideration for the UC San Diego Tritons on the Big West to get in that large if they don't win their conference tournament.
Wow. I love that. The man that loves small school basketball, big school basketball. And John, I asked about McCollum and Drake. It wasn't random. You know me, fresh out of college, that my first job was covering D2 hoops. Yeah, happy you're doing it right. You know the mute button. But it was covering D2 hoops in the MIAA. And that's when I was introduced to this school, Northwest Missouri, who won 4 national championships in McCollum's last 5 seasons. So we brought those guys with them. They're going to play really slow tempo. They're going to play perfect basketball. And this is a team, I kid you not, they defend like Houston. This is like my D2 time watching them. They defend like Houston. They play the offensive game like the Golden State Warriors. It was mind-boggling. So that's why I like that you recognize everything they do right. They play their game. And I think teams that like to score and can't get stops, they're going to get under pressure. They're going to get rushed, and they're going to falter. John, we ask you all this. Who wins it all? Who do you think wins it all, man?
Ooh, boy.
Ooh.
Got to do it to you, my friend.
Yeah, I think the Auburn Tigers are a team of destiny, which might be a curveball because I was talking so highly of Duke. Janai Broome is unbelievable. He's just such a dominant force. The guard play, Chad Baker-Mazara, Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, Tahad Pettiford, electric freshman. I trust him. I think it's Bruce Pearl's time.
Yep.
This team only has 2 losses on the entire year. They only have 1 loss in the best conference we've ever seen. I know it's about who gets hot, but they've just been so dominant. They also are better defensively than they get credit for. They held Kentucky to 1 made field goal in 12 minutes in Lexington on Saturday. That is terrific defense. They guarded Mark Sears a couple weeks back in Tuscaloosa. They went into Alabama and won that game. They're tough. They're motivated. They're together. I will go with the Auburn Tigers. I know it's the top of the country. I think I'm 1 for 1 on this show because I told you UConn would cut down the nets last year.
Yep.
I'm going to try to go 2 for 2. I'm going to take Auburn.
Man, I would love that. I mean, and it makes sense, the depth they have, the coach, and the conference they come out of. They're battle-tested. John, I want to end with this, and it kind of breaks away from this March Madness. I was explaining it to Trav before you hopped on. I'm like, hey, anything you want to ask John, you can. It could be Major League Baseball. It could be college football.
Yeah.
Why do you love college basketball so much? And I'm not asking that way of like, you love all the sports, but like college basketball seems like your true passion, your favorite child, lack of a better term. What is it for you that makes you just obsess in the best way possible over college hoops? Because I hear it. When I've been talking to you about it, going back to our Seton Hall days, you've always had this just affinity for college hoops. Why do you love it so much, JF?
Because it is the only sport where a St. Peter's can come to life, where Jack Golke becomes a household name at the dinner table, where the insane becomes reality, where Cinderella's slipper does exist, where generational greatness can happen at Duke or at Kansas or in the farmland of Storrs, Connecticut. It is a glorious sport where the crazy becomes reality, where the coaching personalities range from Dan Hurley to Bruce Pearl to Mick Cronin to the legends throughout the years. And the 3 weeks in March is World Cup, Olympics, extreme just passion and adrenaline that I match with. And I also would say this, George, and you know me well because we went to Seton Hall together. I love it so much because besides my first love, my wife, it is my first love from a career standpoint because it gave me a chance.
Yeah.
So for me, I love football. I love baseball. I love all sports. I will watch the hockey playoffs. I watch any game. George knows that well about me. But college basketball, the door was open. And when I was early on in my career, I was trying to find a way to stand out. And you want to find a way to differentiate yourself. And I'm like, you know what? This sport, like I can feel its love. I'm going to love it back and see how far it takes me. And I've been very blessed and fortunate to say I've been able to make a living off it.
John, you gave me chills, man. I want to cry a little bit by that answer too. And I'll say it. I'll never forget, John. It was you and I, first game we ever called together. I think it was like Georgetown Seton Hall baseball, right? And I knew you, but I didn't call a game with you. I had the first 3 innings on play-by-play. You switched over to the 4th. And the way it was set up in Seton Hall was weird. I was sitting in front of you. You were behind me, WSOU days. And the gear you shifted. When you took over in play-by-play, I popped. I'm like, who the hell's behind me? And you got through with the half inning. And I went to you. I go, how many games have you called? You go, I think 400. This is you as a freshman in college, man. So you say it's generational greatness of college hoops. You're generational and great, man. I love talking sports with you, JF. Always love catching up to you. And I think one more, people, like, they love you, man. Like, college hoops, they love you. The person that you are is something big happens in my life. You could be in Eastern Illinois calling some small school college hoops game. You're shooting me a text. George, how you doing, man? So happy for you. So, John, I love you. Always love getting you on to talk college hoops. And I know the world knows it, but I just like to spread it more of how effing awesome you are, man. So I love that answer, John.
Love you back, George. Love you guys back. NESN is just awesome. I might be in New Jersey, but I respect the heck out of what you guys do. I think you guys, from a regional sports network, I don't think anybody does it better than you guys. I really mean that. I look up to what you guys do, and anytime I'm in the area, which I think I'm going to be in Providence for the NCAA tournament first weekend, so I'll hear you guys.
All right.
Maybe we'll get together. Maybe we'll pop some bottles together and talk some March.
We'll go to Fed Hill.
Yeah.
We'll go to Fed Hill. Yeah, no, you guys do an elite job. You really do.
Hey, I hope the prop fans take it easy on you. I know they were like upset with you a couple seasons ago, but you were the voice of Providence during their last great season. So I hope the prop fans, Friar fans, back off my boy, please.
I can take it.
You can. He's John Fanta. If there's a college basketball game, you can catch him covering it in some capacity. Field of 68, calling games on Peacock, calling games on Fox Sports 1. John, am I leaving anything off? Just John Fanta. Look him up on X, on Instagram. It's all college hoops for him. You're the best, John. Thank you, man.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys.
The NBA playoffs are right around the corner, and the big question is, will the Celtics repeat and claim banner 19? You can find everything about the NBA and its culture on NESN's basketball podcast, Hold My Banner. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever else podcasts are found. And remember, Boston has entered the chat. It's interactive. Email us at chat@nesn.com. You can also tweet at us using the hashtag NESN chat. All right, NFL Combine is over. I thought it was a tremendous weekend. And as always, it annoys George, but I only watch the big dogs. I only want to see the big names, but George is all over this stuff. Give me some sleepers who maybe you saw their draft stock rise as far as the Patriots are looking at, or maybe slip. Maybe the Patriots were looking at them from what you were hearing, and then their Combine performance maybe got them off the radar.
So the guys, I think it's just like who caught the Patriots' eyes, good or bad.
Yeah.
Number one has to be Jaylin Noel, the wide receiver out of Iowa State. Played 4 years there for the Cyclones. Has played in over 50 games, but really was a 3-year starter. 5'10", 195, 4.39 40, 151 10-yard split on the 40, which is absurd. 41.5-inch vertical, which led all wide receivers. His broad jump of 11 feet and 2 inches, like that's just so explosive. And he's, in my eyes, the best route runner of the receivers that ran a sub 4.4 40. So you have speed, explosiveness, good route running. And the way I liken him to when you looked at his testing numbers, he just reminds me of a Tyler Lockett type game where he's a really good route runner, uses his whole body, head fakes, shoulder fakes, just is so purposeful with everything he does on the football field. But the explosiveness of a Darnell Mooney, those are two guys that tested like him. He had the highest vertical, longest broad jump, most bench reps as well, 5th best shuttle. And I think he just propelled himself up from like 4th, 5th round to 3rd, maybe even 2nd. So I think he caught the Patriots' eyes because this guy can be in the slot, split out wide again like a Mooney or a Lockett, but is so damn good. And then RJ Harvey, he's only 5'8", just over 200 pounds, but he ran a 4.4 40, which is the 4th fastest out of the running backs. He just showed how electric he can be in open space. Patient runner, really good hands, good pass blocker, converted receiver. I think that's someone they like. And then the guys that caught their eyes for negative reasons, Kaleb Johnson, the running back out of Iowa, I think he just hurt his draft stock by not having a good 40, not having a good 10-yard split. He was productive. He could be a bell cow guy, but you have to have that next gear and be able to separate, make guys miss in space. I don't think he just showcased that with his testing.
Sure.
And then Harold Fannin Jr., he's not your typical tight end. He'll be more of in the slot, not be inline tight end, get matched up to run routes. He just didn't do anything exceptional. And I think if you're a guy that's coming from a small school where athleticism is your calling card, if you don't excel with any of your athleticism, that just hurts you. So I just absolutely love what Jaylin Noel put together. And I know Josh McDaniels watches that and goes, I need to get him.
Well, as far as the players who you said the stock is up for, I just appreciated that. I think you had one DB, but for the most part, you had playmakers, running backs, wide
I
receivers.
kept linemen out of it.
Well, that's where I perked up at, because that's exactly what the Patriots need. I'm not saying you don't need help in the trenches. I'm certainly not saying you don't need another corner to pair with Gonzo. But my God, we all watch the games. They are lacking playmakers, George. So when you talk to me about
Jaylin Noel can separate at the next level.
That's
and what does Mike
need.
Vrabel want? I want receivers that can separate, contested catches. He has long arms, long wingspan.
Right.
He just for a guy that looks like a slide, you'd be like, what? I want that big receiver. No. He's a pro.
Yeah.
I love Noel.
So still gut feeling before we're out of here. With the 4th pick, if they stay where they're at, gut feel.
Yeah.
We're going Will Campbell, aren't we?
Maybe. Could be a good edge. We'll see. A lot of time.
The arms, George.
I was looking later rounds.
The arms. Okay, hey, in 30 seconds, we'll talk about the brightest stars in women's college basketball. We talked with John Fanta about the men, but on the women's side, there's a ton to talk about as well. But first, if you want the latest on the Patriots and the NFL, George and I argue back and forth about this draft. What should the Pats do? How can you help Drake May, etc.? We discuss it all on NESN's football podcast, Foxborough Rush. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever else podcasts are found. Okay, George, I teased it. I mean, let's talk about it. We'll get into what's trending. As you know, top 3 stories in sports. We'll get 2 minutes on the clock here. And let's go into the world of the women's college hoops.
Yep.
Paige Beckers inducted in the UConn's Huskies of Honor. So this is their Hall of Fame. This is just a duh right here.
Yep.
Of course she was. This is an all-time player, George, in a program that has had multiple all-time players.
Yeah.
She's just the latest, but great in her own right.
Yeah, what jumped out at me, she's the only player in the 21st century, men's or women's, 2,000 plus career points, 500 or more rebounds, 500 or more assists, to shoot 50% from the floor, 40% from 3, and 80% from the free throw.
Man.
Only D1 21st century college basketball player to do that. And she lost all of 2022 with that injury. So what she meant to the team, the program, she plays for Gino. And this is just someone that's All-American, AP player, just like has all the accolades. It's just awesome to see that Becker's like right away, I think is cool, is that you're not done yet. You're still on that campus.
Yeah, right.
You're still with the team and they honor her like that. I think that's also a reflection of like the type of human being she is in stores in Gamble Pavilion. Like normally you wait till after. No, they want it. Hey, Paige, while you're still here, this is how much you mean to us.
Well, I'm actually going to go to, I don't think the legacy's over yet in terms of she may win a title this year, George.
I know.
Like they are no joke. And look, I don't pretend to be some sort of coaching expert here, but from what I watch and how Gino has sort of handled her this season, George, it does feel like they are primed and ready to go. They are pacing Paige to make sure she's healthy, A, because we understand some injury issues in the past. Healthy, A, and B, ready to go by the time the tournament comes around. Fresh, no issues. Let's go out and let's get it. We have yet this season to see some game where like Paige has gone completely crazy, put up crazy numbers. She's been consistent across the board. So has her minutes.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not going to call it a minutes restriction, but I just think they're being cautious to make sure she's healthy by the time the madness rolls.
She's gotten all the player year awards, just doesn't have a natty yet.
Yeah.
And UConn can do it.
They can do it.
Beyond Paige, they can
Are we
do
betting on UConn to get it done
I'll
this
take
season?
it. Why not? It'd be
Me
the
too.
best ending for her, too.
Yeah.
Of her college career.
Right off in the sunset.
Yeah.
She's already an all-time great, as we said, but that would cement it, no doubt.
Yep.
All right, here's more. Juju Watkins has been named the unanimous National Player of the Year by The Athletic. No shock here as well. George, when you watch Juju play, what do you see? Because I'm going to tell you
I
something.
love that you asked this question.
I see the bag, bro. Like, I see every move possible. Catch, shoot, take you off the dribble, no problem. Come off a screen, no problem. Like, however you want it offensively, she can give it to you. And by the way, no slouch on defense. But what I see with her is the offensive sort of repertoire that jumps out.
She's James Harden with the basketball.
Yeah.
She never picks up her dribble.
That's a good
Like you said, she has a full
comparison.
bag, can attack from every layer of the floor.
It's a good comparison.
And it's just controls the game overall.
Yeah.
Like, I think James Harden, height of his powers, like that's what she does on the floor.
Yeah.
And what was absurd too, she gets this award. Her splits against top 10 opponents this season, right? 26 points per game, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, shooting 37% from the floor. against all other opponents, non-top 10, 24 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks. She played better against the best opponents. And what she did against number 1 UCLA, 38, 11, 8 blocks, 5 assists in a single game. She just steps up on the biggest stages. So it's like when I watch the offensive game of a Juju Watkins, I see a James Harden or like a Jason Tatum. Can like rock you to sleep, but just kills you in every fashion of the game.
Yeah.
But then when I watch her in the big moments, like she's Juju Watkins. You know, she's her own player in that facet where she just steps up on the biggest stages against the toughest opponents. And when USC needs her the most, like I said, against top 10 opponents, she does it, man. She's going to win WNBA awards, WNBA MVPs. Like she is going to be transcendent of that league one day. She's so talented.
You know what's crazy? I never thought of that comp, that James Harden comp. I do see it, and you know what's interesting about those two? They're both from the same area.
Oh, yeah?
Both from L.A.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to Ante Campbell, our esteemed producer,
Check out
who's
Bannon.
from L.A. Like, what is that? What's that style? Because it's true.
She doesn't pick the dribble up, and I think that's so lethal.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's just you always have a defender on their heels, and she does it in everything. Like, notice I brought up blocks. It wasn't just like rebounds, like on both ends of the floor.
All right, before we move on,
Gamer.
Scary hours. Juju against Paige and the Natty. Can we get it?
I would love
we get it?
I would love it.
Bro, the ratings? Come on. We haven't seen ratings like that since Caitlin Clark against Angel Reese.
A year ago. But that'd be great. Let it keep growing.
It would be great. All right, here's more. South Carolina gets the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament.
This is nuts.
After winning a coin flip?
Yep.
With Texas? What? A coin flip? Okay, so I looked into this because I'm not going to lie. I was very confused as we look at this article here from ESPN. South Carolina beat Texas in their first matchup, so they split in the regular season.
Yeah.
South Carolina beat them handily in that first matchup. In the second one, Texas beat South Carolina barely. So I'm thinking like, okay, well, point differential, and no. That's not what it came down to here. It came down to record. They're both head-to-head here, so flip a coin. Boom. They haven't lost any other games other than that. So there it is. And South Carolina won that too. Like, to me, they should be the 1 seed.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with you. It should be point differential in conference games at that point, right? Because obviously it's like the 1 loss each, because I was going to be like, what about win against common opponents? Well, they're only
They only had 1.
Exactly. So this is just absurd. Like, I agree USC deserves it, but it's like – the way Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, did it as well, like flipped the coin during halftime of LSU and Mississippi.
Yeah.
They broadcast on SEC Network. I mean, that's just smart marketing. Make some drama, add to the game and it all. If I'm Texas, I'd be so pissed off. I would be so pissed off. You went 15-1. South Carolina, you beat them. That is the class of the class, the standard in college hoops right now.
Yeah.
And a coin flip knocked you off of possibly getting the top seed in the SEC tournament. Like, I'd be so upset by that.
I mean, who do you trust more, though? It's South Carolina. They should be the 1 seed. It's as simple as that. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not hating on Texas here. I
know.
But, like,
I hate the coin.
Of course it's South Carolina.
It's 2025. It's not 1982.
Right.
You get point differential, net rating, tempo. Who plays at a higher pace, right? Who won on a higher elevation? Like, take the elevation of all their games. Who had the better record? Like, there's so many ways you can do it. You did a coin flip. They played 16 games in conference. They both earned that top seed, and you let a coin determine it.
I mean, George is saying that, but we flip a coin to see who hosts the show every day.
It's true.
So it's like, I mean, I don't know why he's judging them. It's what we do. I think it's a perfectly normal way to, settle things.
That's because you've won more coin flips than me.
Yeah, well, let's flip a coin for it. By the way, Magic versus Bird, blue collar Boston against the Showtime Lakers, Luka and LeBron against Tatum and Brown. I mean, maybe I'm on to something here. We'll talk about it in 30 seconds. But first, I have a promo that I can't find. Foxborough Rush. All right,
no, I got you.
Do that?
Stream.
Oh, it's 360.
I got your back, my guy.
You,
Talk about
man.
flipping coins. Stream the entire Sox season with NESN 360 annual plan, available at all new reduced price of just $20 paid annually. $20 a month paid annually. Excuse me.
Deal.
And for a limited time, get 4 free tickets to Fenway with your purchase. Visit NESN360.com to sign up today. Again, new reduced price, just $20 a month paid annually for NESN 360.
You see, George?
I got you back.
We flipped a coin for the promo, and you won.
Yeah,
Good job. All right, let's talk about this. The Lakers are the 2 seed in the West.
Amazing.
I'm shocked.
What changed
by
about
this.
the
What happened? Who's that guy in that picture with LeBron?
Luka Doncic?
That's what
Second best player in the league.
How about this? Lakers hot, currently on a 6-game win streak, number 2 seed in the West. So it begs the question, because we know around here what it is with the champs. Are we going to get a Lakers-Celtics NBA Finals? George, it should be noted, everything comes back to gambling for me.
Yep.
I looked this up. Right now, if you bet this, that you think it's going to happen, plus 950, so almost 10-1 here for a little Celtic-Laker
matchup
Finals. What do you think? You're not loving it. I could tell by the face. I could tell. Say it.
The Thunder, yes, the Lakers are the 2 seed. Who's 10.5 games ahead of them? It's the Thunder.
Right.
That's my thing before I get on Lakers. Okay, but can they match up with them? I still think no. I think of what this Thunder team did to Luka Doncic last year in the playoffs of taking him up to the line. Now, of course, Luka's now with LeBron James and the Lakers, and what's LeBron going to look like up at that point?
Yeah.
But that was a deep Mavs team, very physical, better defensively than what you get with the Lakers as well.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that all just working out for them just to get out of the West. Because of Luka and because of LeBron, yes, they're in that conversation. I just can't bring myself all the way to bring it Lakers, confidently they can make it out of the West. My thing would be, okay, what happened to the Thunder? That's how I would have to follow up that Lakers combo. It's I don't have the full confidence in them as a team. I have the confidence in the individuals, but my confidence just still lies with the Thunder.
Could I argue, because I agree with you, but just to play devil's advocate, could I argue that the Lakers' experience level with Luka and LeBron is obviously greater than the Thunder experience level as a team? I mean, that's sort of when you get into deep waters in the playoffs, 7-game series, LeBron and Luka have been there, done that. Now, obviously, LeBron has got it done in terms of winning the hardware, but Luka's at least been on the stage and caught that L for Banner 18, shots fired. But the Thunder, I mean, they've won a first-round series, the end. They don't really have the gravitas. They don't have the experience level of those stars on the Lakers, and I do think that matters. I guess we're that's just playing devil's advocate.
The 2 stars, because what do you tell Roy?
Yes.
Is it Austin Reeves?
Right.
And
that's
Roy
where
Hachimura?
I'm at. That's why I'm some of me too, George.
It's still Gabe Vincent and Jackson Hayes.
It's a bunch of dudes. It's Luka, LeBron, and a bunch of dudes.
Exactly. When the Thunder is a bunch of dogs.
Yeah,
and it's SGA who's MVP this year.
And it feels like their time. And by the way, it's just me playing devil's advocate bringing this up. Because I agree. I think the Thunder are going to be there. And there's other teams out west I'd probably trust over the Lakers, to be honest with you. However, the Lakers are headed in the right direction. LeBron's not going to play forever, although it looks like he could. But he's not going to. At some point, he's going to retire. What they need to get that they're missing desperately now is a rim protector. Because, George, right now, the Lakers have this momentum. They have this us against the world. They have this chip on their shoulder. Dallas did Luka wrong. LeBron's found the fountain of youth in Luka.
Yeah.
They just have a lot going for them right now. They have the juice right now. But when you get into a 7-game series, you got to have somebody. When Luka is not as motivated and he's not playing defense, LeBron starts looking his age, and it's Game 5, Game 6 elimination, Game 7. I mean, at some point, someone's going to blow by you. Who's at the rim to deter
Jackson
anyone?
Hayes.
No, that's not going to get it done. So I think in time, very quickly, I think the Lakers need to add someone that can give you at least second thoughts at the rim. They don't have that right now, and I think that will haunt them in a 7-game series, George.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is too. I think LeBron, still in a win-or-go-home game, you want LeBron on your side.
Yes.
Luka late in a game, there's no one that wants the ball in the shot more than him, but it's just this team defensively just can't bring it. Would I love, Lakers Celtics in the finals, LeBron and Luka against Tatum and Jaylin Brown? That'd be fantastic.
Ratings.
And this is a matchup we're going to get for Lakers hope next 10 years of Luka, who's 26, Jason Tatum, who's 27, Lakers versus Celtics. This is the next chapter in that rivalry. It's just not right now. I don't
so
think.
you think we will get it shortly, just not now?
Not this year.
Okay. Listen, man, there's a lot of – I think it's harder out west. There's a lot of teams out west that could get this done in the future, too. In the East, it is the Celtics, and you can see, obviously, the Cavs are gaining. But the Bucks, I mean, they have all their eggs in two players' baskets as well, just like the Lakers do. I don't think that's sustainable.
Yeah.
The Knicks, I mean, unless they change coaches, they're going to run that team ragged every time.
Yep.
It just feels like it's a Celtics East until the Celtics beat themselves. Out west, I am willing to just give this to anyone, Thunder included. I think how the West is won is much tougher than how the East is won for the foreseeable future, George.
That's where it's like right now or never for the Thunder too, because you have to get it before the Spurs ascend and Wemby's back
what I'm
healthy,
saying.
before the T-Wolves can get back on track and put a roster together. Although like second half of the season, the Timberwolves have been turning it on.
Rockets are young and tough.
Exactly.
There's some good teams. John Morant appears to be mature.
As LeBron, if he retires and the Lakers get better, but then the Spurs close a gap, Rockets close a gap, Timberwolves close a gap, and the Thunder, I don't really see them going anywhere. The way they can draft and develop, and they're obviously going to give the Supermax to SGA.
Well, I said this on Hold My Banner, which you can catch on NESN, that I think the Thunder should put a package together and go get Cooper Flagg. And our esteemed producer, Ante Campbell, called me insane.
Get rid of Chet, trade for Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you would have to. I was just thinking
that
the draft
package
picks.
would.
They have draft picks until the year 3000.
You're not going to pass on Cooper Flagg just for draft picks.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get Cooper
unless
Flagg.
You're the Lakers. Unless you're the Mavericks. Sorry.
Coop's
generational talent just for
poor
whatever.
Coop's going to end up in a wasteland like the Wizards or the Raptors. Sure as we're sitting here. For Travis Thomas and George Malecki and you, thank you for rolling with us here on Boston Has Entered the Chat. Until next time, we ask you to enter it again. Peace.
Later.